If you're like me, you probably assume that grumpy old men got grumpy because they became bitter, disappointed. Maybe got to the point where they realized they hadn't achieved their life's ambitions and never would, or that they were never realistic to begin with, um, or some other reason to be bitter and disappointed with their lives. And other grumpy old men, I suppose, may have got that way because of health issues. If you live with chronic pain, I mean, that certainly can cause you a bit of grumpiness. But I think the older I get, the more I appreciate that there are other reasons why people grow a little sour as they get older. Um, and I think I don't know how to say this without sounding a little overly dramatic, but I think one thing that I've come to grips with as I've gotten older is that for the vast majority of us, life has no happy ending to offer. And it's the sort of realization and acceptance that for most of us, um, life will end with suffering, um, isolation, um, or some combination thereof. And it's not the kind of thing that's really very easy to avoid. You know, a lot of people tie material success and wealth to happiness, but I think most sensible people know that money does not buy you happiness. Money can bring you comfort, it can bring you convenience and ease, but it doesn't buy happiness. Plenty of rich people die miserable. And I don't think this is something that's our fault. I think this is just the way the universe works. We think of cruelty as something that is uniquely human, and it isn't. It really isn't. Humans are part of nature too, and the things that we do are think of them as synthetic or unnatural is, I think, a mistake. Cruelty is not unique to humans. If you look at the animal kingdom, you find it all over the place. When I was at university, I took a course on primate behavior. I have a degree in psychology. And for that course, I spent a lot of time at the Ape House at the National Zoo. I went, I went to meet Jane Goodall, heard her speak, read her book, Through a Window, which is one of the most powerful books I've ever read. Very influential on me. And I think the one thing that really, surprised me and changed my way of thinking about animals as a result of taking that class was witnessing and talking to people who had been firsthand witnesses of some of the most shocking behavior. The animals that Jane Goodall was living with, literally living with, in Africa, this colony of chimps, would subject each other to the most horrific behavior. In behavioral psychology within the animal kingdom, when one animal kills another and we cannot attribute a reason for that, in other words, they didn't need it for food, they didn't need it for territorialism, or they didn't need it to display their dominance for some clear reason, we call that surplus killing, which is a very nice way to put it. And what thing you find is that surplus killing takes place right down to single-cell organisms. I don't know that you would go so far as to say that a single-cell organism could kill for pleasure, but the higher up the chain you go in terms of evolution, the more it does appear that a lot of animals do kill for pleasure. Dolphins roam the oceans like street gangs. They are horrifically violent. Orcas, will torment and torture seals before killing them in almost what appears to be sport. Cruelty and suffering is not something that is unique to humans or the human experience. It exists throughout the animal kingdom. It is part of nature. It is part of the universe. We live in a brutal universe. And in fact, brutal and brutality, that comes from a Latin word brutus, which means pertaining to or resembling an animal, a beast. So brutality is definitionally natural. It is part of the realm of nature and the universe that we live in. So getting older, you do come to grips with the fact that your story probably isn't going to have a happy ending. And that's a hard thing to swallow. It's a hard thing to take on board and not let it make you a bit grumpy and cynical. For me, I think this just sort of adds one more reason that a more mindful approach to life is the right choice. Because mindfulness is about focusing on the present moment. It's not about worrying about what may never happen in the future or what you can't change about the past. It's about focusing on now and what you have now and the joy and the happiness that can be found in the now, because frankly, that's the only place they can be found. So I think that's why a lot of people, not just men, get a bit grumpy and cynical and bitter as they get older. But I don't think that that's an inevitable result of this realization. I think that you have to take stock of what's real and be mindful of the time that you are living in now. Be mindful of the present moment and live in it. So that's my brave, deep thought for the day. Hope you found that interesting, and I'd love to hear your comments. Thank you.